Thanks for stopping back by again. I wanted to give credit where credit is due in this. There's an English fellow I watch here on YouTube named Richard Vobes, and I like his videos. I don't watch all of them. I don't agree with all of them. Doesn't matter. I like he's from Europe, British, I don't know, chap, jolly good, all that stuff. I kind of like the accent, and he had a video recently called Seeing It Through or something to that effect, and I want to take part of that and expound on it a little bit, expand on it, whatever the proper terminology is, and talk about self-doubt, because that's always an element of seeing something through. Now, I'm just going to give you some personal examples that affected me directly and what I learned from those examples. Now, self-doubt can be a good thing. I mean, it's there for a reason. Like, you see all your buddies jumping off the overpass and maybe this ain't such a good deal. I'm kind of doubting this whole operation, that kind of thing. You know, maybe we shouldn't steal the car. It's there for a reason, and there's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of times, the bigger things in life, maybe you're thinking about going into a business venture with a guy that's just a little bit, you know, maybe he doesn't have the best track record historically, a little bit sketchy in some of his business dealings, that kind of stuff. And so you got that doubt there, that kind of inner voice, if you will, that it's like, let's hang on just a second. You know, let me think about this a while. And that's there. You know, personally, I can point to at least two really big things in my own life. One of those was post-divorce, and that wasn't my choosing. That wasn't the way I had envisioned things and had this master plan. It's a great plan, by the way. Neither here nor there. What was done was done. And then came the matter of my children. I have two children. And, you know, immediately I was like, how come this ain't my thing? Why do I have to sacrifice seeing my children every day? And when you're kind of relegated to, at best, part-time dad, you're talking, what, every other weekend and a Wednesday visit or something, you know, not enough to really be involved in their lives to the extent that you should be, right? So the more I thought about this, I was like, this isn't going to fly. I want custody of my children, full custody. Now, mind you, at this time, my parents are dead, and I know a lot of people that get help from the grandparents. You know, they have this network of people that can kind of help out. I don't really have that in a lot of ways. I got a very small core group of friends that would just run through a brick wall for me if I asked them to, and then fix the wall, which is awesome. It's completely awesome. But they got lives. They're working. You know, I'm thinking about taking on these kids as a full-time responsibility, and I don't have the network. Like I said, my folks were dead at this time, had been for years. And there's this doubt that creeps in. You know, are you really gonna do this? Have you thought this through properly? How are you gonna pull this off? At the time, I'm living on a mountaintop, out in the boonies. You know, them people, the ones that are gonna help, can't drive out there. That's not realistic. You know, it's like, how is this going to work? This ain't ever gonna work. You know, and here's that doubt, that self-doubt that creeps in. This isn't gonna work. And another element of this that is crucial are people that, you know, I valued their opinion. I was listening to all kinds of opinions, and I was sorting out what I thought was realistic and not realistic, or logical and not logical. Really good people that really meant well. And when I told them, it's like, I'm going for full custody here. These people, and I'm not bashing them, I'm just, you'll see. But these people were like, dude, you need to realize the kids go with the mothers almost always. You know, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure here. You need to kind of get used to the idea that you're not going to see those kids every day. And I immediately rejected that, because that kind of fed into the self-doubt thing. Then you build up this monster that's in your head, and it's just like, I can't do this. This is impossible, especially with a disabled child. Yeah, you know, I'm on a mountaintop. This isn't logical. I can pull this off, Einstein. But immediately, I had made up my mind. You can tell me all the different scenarios of how this could go wrong, and how it's not going to work, etc., etc. I don't care. This is the self-doubt thing where you just, I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to listen to this. And I listened to him, and I said, yeah, that's nice. Anyway, here's my plan. And the plan radically changed as things evolved. The whole situation radically changed. You know, a lot of that planning, and it's not really scheming, but you know what I'm talking about, sorting things through in my mind, and this is how it's going to go. And a lot of that stuff never even happened. But the end result was, and if nothing else, I can be brutally honest with myself. And I always figure, if you can't be honest with yourself, how can you be honest dealing with others? The brutally honest part of me was like, all right, you fixed your mind. How are we going to do this? The logistics of this are nearly impossible. And the best I could come up with is, you're going to wing it. Fake it till you make it type thing. You know, do the best you can with what you got. We're just going to go one day by each. And we'll deal with them things as they come. But the plan is still the plan. And I'm not going to have this doubt tearing me down, chipping away at the armor, the solidity of the direction that I'm going. I'm not going to have it. Like I said, there's good self-doubt, and there's harmful self-doubt, which holds so many people back, whether that's in business or leaving their job or getting a different career, or I can't ever afford to go to trade school, or whatever the scenario is. There's certain times you just got to make, here's the line. And we are not, anything else that works against that line, I'm just not going to have it. The end result was I did get full custody of my children. It was incredibly difficult. At crucial times, I got incredibly vital help from friends and family. And that is not lost on me, especially during this week of Thanksgiving, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to forget that. The second part of this, and this is just me personally, and it's a much lesser scale in the grand scheme of life, was building a house. And I've talked about this several times on this channel, and a lot of the things that were involved in that. But I can remember at one point, I think I already had the footings poured, and I had ordered a large, substantial amount of money. Now the lumber's coming, and I'm driving up to the property. I'm going up the mountaintop, and I was like, am I really building this house? I'm really going to do this. I'd thought about this for so long. I used to think about it as a kid, not realizing all the logistics and the money and the effort, and there's no bank loan or nothing. This is just, we're just going to fake it till we make it. But here was that self-doubt again lingering. Are you really going to do this? I mean, we ain't going to spend all this money and cobble something together. And I had enough skills at this time to properly build a house. I had enough knowledge. When are you going to have the time to do this? What about, the doubt. Now, there's the people of the religious bent will say, well, that's the devil worshiping in your ear, not worshiping, but, chirping in your ear and trying to keep you down. Maybe it is. I don't know. Neither here nor there. And that was another time in life where I drew a line and said, yes, I am. I'm building a house for my family. If you think you can stop me, you can go ahead and try. It doesn't work. That force that is so valuable. What about it? We're going to deal with that when we get to it. This is a monumental undertaking this changed everybody's lives, everybody around it. like my immediate family, because of the time, because of the effort. I'd come back more 12, 15-hour days and just sore. It was a 30-minute drive to the nearest store of any, an actual store, just because it's, as the bird flu, it doesn't matter, I don't have wings. The effort, by the time I drive home in 35 minutes, I was so sore I couldn't hardly get out of the truck, and it's just like, you just got to keep plugging. You just got to keep, if we've got to trade our sleep. I felt so guilty so many times because there were complete days where I'd peek in on my kids while they were asleep because it's the only time I saw them that day. Well, they're already asleep. But it's just like, no pain, no gain, We're suffering now, so it's easier later. And saw it through. This took 2.5 years, I think. With no mortgage, with no bank breathing down my neck or whatever. At one point I had to stop and recoup some money. That self-doubt is the point of all this. That can sometimes pop up in your life. And if you get in the habit of listening to that, you just kind of stuck where you're stuck. It's like, well, why don't you're so miserable. Why don't you do this? Or what about this? Or maybe this. I could never do that. Well, you've spoken it into existence. I guess you won't, because you're never going to try. What happens if I try and fail? Then you fail. And you might pick 2 or 3 major things in that, or 15 or 100 or whatever, and say, well, this is probably why. Later, it's valuable. Failure is a valuable lesson. Because you can learn from it, if you will, if you're honest with yourself. The trouble with that is, a lot of people now either can't or won't be honest with themselves. Sometimes monumental undertakings. I'm gonna lose this weight. I'm gonna get it off. I'm gonna live a little bit healthier. Now, I don't have to go nuts. I'm carrying too much weight. I could never do that. I'm not gonna stick with it. I've tried diets before and failed on them. I just can't do it. Then you're not going to. How are we going to buy a house? We can't do that. I can't afford that. Then you're not going to. It doesn't have to be the $500,000 ridiculously overpriced and underbuilt trash crap that gets cranked out by the local builder conglomerate thing. You don't have to do that. You can start brand new. There's other ways around this stuff, but it all comes from drawing a line. And the self-doubt, we don't do that anymore. Sure, I can do this. Sure, I can level this mountain. It's going to take a minute. Don't sit here and tell me how I can't, because I'm not going to have it. I might hear you out and be like, oh, yeah, well, there's that. Yeah, that's something to think about for about a half a second, because I've already drawn the line. I've already made up my mind. You can take your doubt. I don't think you're going to pull this off. Well, I guess we'll see. You're probably right. I don't know. Maybe he's not right. Watch me. And when you think about the things in life, people paint themselves into a corner and just like, I don't know. It's not so bad in this corner, I guess. I've kind of gotten used to it. The walls are here and here, and what if I walk across the floor and the paint ain't dry? What if building these mountains, these scenarios that you have no idea if they're even going to be a thing? Just like me through the divorce and the custody battle that ensued. Most of them things never even happened. You don't know. But you let them things, yeah, oh yeah, and somebody else is chirping in your ear, yeah, you're going to see your kids. It just won't be the same as it. You think so? No, because your words came so far, and then I wasn't going to have them anymore. I pretended to listen, and he's a nice guy. He means well. Watch me. See what happens. But we get painted in these corners by ourselves a lot of times. I could never do that. I can't do that. I mean, I don't know anything about that. It could be any number of things. But we give up before we even try. And that's really sad to me, because once you learn how to do that, it becomes easier. And you get rid of this fear of failure. I don't have any fear of it. It's the worst thing that can happen. I can learn a bunch of crucial stuff. I don't set out to fail at things. But slow down, take your time, think it through, basic things. Not everything is right now. It might take you 2.5 years to get a livable house. That's okay. Who set the clock? Not me. We might have to spend thousands of dollars going through the stupid court system rigged against men, at least good men, automatic default to the women. That's okay. I got time. I'll come up with the money. Don't you worry about that. Watch me. Because I'm not going to stay in this damn corner. It's uncomfortable. I don't like it here. That's my take on it, man. You put your thing in the thing if you want to do the thing. Hey, I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. It's Thanksgiving week, man. I got a lot to be thankful for. I bet you do too when you stop and think about it. I'll see you next time.